How's it going, guys? I'm Ricky, this is Hannah, and we own a personal training and nutrition coaching business. And today, we're answering some of the top Google questions for fitness.
Here we go.
So, first question we got. What are the best foods for weight loss?
Oh, best foods for weight loss are, well, the foods you're not going to eat in excess.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, it's any food that is going to help you maintain a calorie deficit. So if we boil it down to weight loss, and I could talk forever about this, weight loss versus body composition changes versus fat loss, there's a lot of differences and nuances there. But if you're talking just strictly weight loss, just numbers on the scale, you don't necessarily care about body composition, maybe you don't have any specific aesthetic goals or performance goals, you really just want to lose weight, pretty much anything that's going to put you in a calorie deficit is going to get you there. Calorie deficit just means you're going to be eating less calories than you're expending. There's different ways you can go about this. You can do this through exercise, through dieting, through a combination of both. But the best food for weight loss is going to be the food that helps you maintain that calorie deficit. And that's a lot of different ways you can do that. Keto's very common because there's only so much fat that you can eat. You're not eating sugar, you're not eating carbohydrates. So that's the way that diet specifically works. Carnivore is another popular one that's like a buzzword right now, where you're literally only eating meat. So you're cutting out a lot of sugars, processed carbs, things like that. All of those things, not saying that I support any of those methods, but all of those work to some degree because they're putting you in a calorie deficit.
Why do you think that the diet fads that are most targeted to cutting out carbohydrates are the most popular or see the most results?
Because carbs are delicious and they're really easy to eat. And usually people that are having a hard time with snacking or with getting in excess calories throughout the day, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times they're coming in through a form of a simple carbohydrate. So, simple sugars, they're drinking sugary beverages, they're eating things that you can eat a lot of and that aren't very satiating, so they don't make you feel very full. So you're intaking a lot of calories, but you're not really getting that satiety or that feeling of fullness. So again, if we wanted to really go in depth on why diets work, that is ultimately what it comes down to, is putting you in a calorie deficit. So the best food for weight loss is the best food that is going to help you maintain a calorie deficit. Obviously, our recommendation with nutrition coaching would be to get that through a balanced diet, through making sure that you're getting all of the macronutrients, your carbohydrates, your proteins, your fats, and then also getting in your fiber, your micronutrients, all of those things, maintaining a really healthy, balanced diet, but still maintaining a small calorie deficit through a variety of ways, tracking, taking photos of your food, different ways you can do that. But that's really my ultimate answer. Best food for weight loss is going to be the food that you're not going to be overindulging in, that you're going to be able to feel full, you're going to be able to feel like you can perform, but you're not going to be tempted to eat in excess.
All right, your turn.
How do I get a six-pack? I really want a six-pack.
I love the fact that people are just like on Google, like at home, just like type into your computer, how do I get a six-pack? That is just fantastic. How do you get a six-pack? So at the end of the day, when people talk about getting a six-pack, it's more so a combination of, body composition. That's at the end of the day what we're trying to do, is we're trying to increase the amount of musculature that we have on our body, decrease the amount of body fat. Because at the end of the day, everyone, here's a spoiler alert, everyone has a six-pack. It's just for people who are probably typing this into Google, you just can't see your six-pack. All your six-pack is your abdominal muscles. So you just have currently a layer of fat covering that musculature out. The less body fat we have, the more you're gonna see your abdomen. So how do you go about doing that? I think it's a combination of a few things. I mean, first and foremost, you gotta have the musculature there. Typically when you see people who have like six-pack abs. There's more, it's like guys who have big biceps and like that sort of thing. Like the bigger, the more pronounced the muscle is, the easier it is going to see it. But then you have to take into factor, how do you then decrease the body fat that's over that musculature as well. And then on that side, I would say it more comes down to, what you were just simply like talking about with our nutrition aspect of things, right? It's like trying to change our body composition means we have to really drastically increase our protein intake is gonna be a big factor of it, because if we don't have enough protein, we're not gonna be building that musculature. And then also on the flip side of that is we would want to be staying away from things that are just going to be readily turning into fat if we don't utilize it. So that kind of ties back into, I think, also why like all those fad diets you're talking about with like carnivore and keto diets are like very popular, is because people see that aesthetic results more often than any other diet, because they're getting a ton of protein and they're cutting out all like the really readily simple carbohydrates that your body quickly turns into fat. So the likelihood of you holding on to more body fat than usual is a lot lower. But with that being said, it just totally depends on what are you doing for, performance, right? So like for myself as a runner, I'm not going to be going on to a low carbohydrate diet because I need the amount of glucose for, running, right? And so if you're someone who is a runner and doing a hybrid approach or whatever it may be, like you have to take into account how much is your training output, as well as, what are you consuming to compensate for that training, to fuel that training, to help you repair from that training. And make sure you're threading that line of balancing where you are eating enough protein, enough calories to fuel the performance, and building the musculature that you're going to need to build a six-pack. But on the flip side of that, you got to make sure you're not eating too much crap to, put on excess body fat. And at the end of the day, the biggest thing when it comes to like any sort of aesthetic goal, I really do encourage that. At the end of the day, aesthetics is good. We should be striving for that if that is something that's important to you, but really focus on functionality before aesthetics. When you just focus on the aesthetics goals, sometimes we lose functionality along the way, right? But if we aim for functionality, typically aesthetics will come with it. If you're trained to be strong, most likely you're gonna get bigger muscles. If you're trained to be a good marathon runner, most likely you're gonna be leaner, right? If you're just focusing on purely aesthetics, sometimes that will take away the benefits of training, because we're just focusing on how we look. And then on the other side of that, also, it takes time. You got to be consistent. So just because you go to the gym for 1 week and you can't see your abs yet, keep going. I promise you'll get there. All right. What exercises burns the most belly fat?
All of them.
Dude, bars.
Yeah, literally anything, because you can't spot reduce fat. So there's no way you can tell your body, I'm going to do this exercise and you're just going to burn belly fat. It's not physically possible. So any exercise that you do that is getting you into a place where you are burning fat, where you are working hard enough to be seeing those changes, you're going to be losing general body fat. So general body fat means you can't choose where it comes from. So unfortunately, ladies, that means that it will potentially come from your butt, potentially come from your boobs.
The tatas.
The tatas. So that's just the way that the cookie crumbles. However, if you are looking to reduce belly fat, anything that you're doing that is getting you into a better body composition, so again, decreasing fat, increasing muscle, you're gonna see those changes throughout your whole body. However, if you're genetically predisposed to hold fat on your belly, which a lot of us are, depending on where we've just kind of grown up holding body fat, that might be the last place that you see it to go. So you just have to be really, really patient. You have to be really realistic with yourself. If you take a look at your family and they all kind of got a little spare tire going on, chances are it's going to be a little bit harder for you, because genetically that's probably just where you're going to be holding belly fat. So all is not lost. There is hope, but you have to be patient. You have to be specific and strategic with your nutrition, with your training. You can do a lot of core exercises, because that is, like Ricky mentioned with the six-pack abs question, that is going to increase the muscle in that area, but that's not necessarily going to spot reduce fat in that area. So that's something I think that a lot of people get confused with, is they think, oh, if I do a ton of crunches, I'm going to be burning fat on my abs. That's not really the case. You're going to be building muscle. But to be losing fat in general, we need to, again, go back to our calorie deficit question. We need to be in a calorie deficit, but we also need to be making sure that we're increasing lean mass through building muscle, through getting enough protein in, through making sure that we're resting and getting enough recovery so our body can rebuild that muscle. And we're also eating the right kinds of foods, so we're not storing a bunch of excess body fat on our belly or anywhere else.
Do you feel like there is a specific kind of exercise that is best for body fat reduction in general? Because if we can't spot reduce, how do we reduce like fat on our body as a whole most efficiently?
Yeah, that's another I feel
know
like
it's like a hot topic.
hot button topic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you can go about that. So there's a lot of different studies that show high intensity interval training is really effective at doing that. But again, for high intensity interval training to be truly actually doing like a high intensity workout, you have to be like pushing your limits.
Right.
And I think a lot of times things that get coined as like high intensity, it's not high intensity enough.
Because like the EPOC is, or the excess post-oxygen consumption, like after the workout's done, is like not high enough to like create like that.
You have to be like borderline redlining to see like a lot of benefits with that. And I think a lot of people like settle for training in this like uncomfortable but not like
to get sweaty.
Yeah, not intense enough.
Yeah.
So that is if you're doing like true intensity, like high intensity interval training, that's a great one for people that don't have a lot of time, but they're down to just suck for a little bit. Like that's a really good one. Obviously aerobic work, so anything where you're getting your heart rate into an aerobic zone and you can maintain that over the course of a longer period of time. So jogging, zone 2 training, anything where you're staying in that kind of zone 2 level, that's going to be really good for, one, obviously cardiovascular health, but two, burning body fat and staying in that zone for an extended period of time. And then going back to the body composition thing, this all like, again,
ties together.
Everything kind of like works with each other. If we are trying to change our body composition, that means we're trying to increase muscle, decrease fat. So that means we need more muscle on our body. So the best way to do that is through strength training. So making sure that you're getting in really good quality reps where you're going to the full range of motion and you're really extending through those muscles to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. You're choosing good weight where it's like the last 2 to 3 reps are a push, because that means you're actually pushing through those limits. If you're just like breezing through it, jamming it out, it's probably not going to be heavy enough to see any results or any muscle growth. We have to actually be tearing those muscles apart and putting them back together with our recovery. So it's like an all-inclusive answer. You should be doing a little bit of everything, but with a good strategic program.
And I think to tie it all together is like, at the end of the day, it needs to be something that you enjoy doing, because if you don't enjoy doing it, most likely you're not going to adhere to it for long periods of time.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's like, the main thing is if you are doing something that you enjoy doing, you will keep doing it. So say you hate high intensity interval training. Like we have clients who like, do not like their heart rate going over a certain limit, but they love lifting heavy weights, right? So maybe their workouts isn't going to be like this 20-minute AMRAP where they're just push for 20 minutes, but they're going to be an hour long of heavy weights with good like form, good weight selection, and that's going to elicit the sort of response they need for consistent growth, right? Or someone who hates running isn't going to run.
I don't know who that is.
Consistently, right? And so it is, I think, like you said, a combination of all those things. But I think too often people try these fad diets or fad exercises, right? Like, I mean, not throwing any shade to anyone, but like an example that comes to mind is like the Hard 75 or whatever it's called, right? It's like, it's 75 days of like, yeah, we're doing this, and you might see some results, but it's also such a short period of time that it really is hard to like see like long-term effects from it. And even then, once it's over, then it's like, then what, right? Like you're not going to sustain that pace. I mean, some people may, but for the most part, like if you just hit it hard and think like after those 75 days, like, oh, I'll like the results I want is going to be there, that's where like disappointment happens. That's where like that cycle continues of then it's like you would go back to like old habits and then increase body fat instead of decreased body fat. So all that to say, I think the biggest thing too is like with everything you said, to tie that all together is like we always talk about consistency is key. Consistency over time equals results. So choosing the things that you can do that you can adhere to for not just a few months, but like a few years. Like that should be kind of like the mindset.
All right, here we go. Last question for today. What is the best way to lose weight?
I have a lot of thoughts about this question. It is a question that we both get asked a lot. And it's the thing that, you know, because of that, we've had to think about it a lot. My immediate response to that for most clients is I tell them is to cut off a leg. That is the easiest way to lose weight. And the reason why I say that is to kind of like put a point of, I think the fitness industry has done a disservice for decades now to like really pinpoint that weight loss equals success. So I think that's just not a very good measurement for success for our health and wellness. Weight loss is a factor for, you know, many individuals, depending whether it be, you know, you're dealing with comorbidities related to being overweight. Diabetes and hypertension typically is correlated with weight. So like, you know, weight loss is an important factor for a lot of people's goals. Sport specifics where like you're dealing with, you know, weight cuts and whatnot. But at the end of the day, fitness and wellness goes so far past just the number on the scale. Like I think we get so hyper-focused, and I see so many clients who get so disheartened because they don't see that number on the scale going down, that it just like, it like really affects them, and it almost deters them to quit. Rather than focusing on how are you feeling over the first few weeks, right? It's like, how do I like, how is your confidence levels? How's your energy levels? Like, hey, what is your numbers in the gym? Are you lifting heavier weights? Are you running faster? Those are all also factors that would, you know, I think is like immediately more important than just the number on the scale. And let's say, what are we even asking ourselves when you say, what do you really want when you say, I want to lose weight? Do you want to lose weight? If I say, you know, you don't lose any weight, but you lose inches off of your waist, you increase your strength, you increase your cardiovascular output, your mood increases, but the number on the scale does not move at all, would you take that result versus I lost a few pounds, but none of those other things apply? So I think it's important to always really ask yourself, like, why am I saying I want to lose weight? And what is the core reason behind that why? It's more than just a number on the scale. I think a lot of people believe that number on the scale is going to lead to happiness, lead to health, lead to performance. But the reality typically is not just that, right? And again, all that to say is not an important factor. I just don't like that, you know, it makes me sad to know this is like one of the top asked questions, because I know that's what so many people focus on. You know, it's just like, it's just so much more, like our bodies are so much more complex than just a number on a scale that it just, I wish it was like a deeper conversation about it. But all that to say, to give you an actual answer of how do you lose weight, it kind of ties back to exactly what Hannah was talking about during the first question. If we want to lose weight, the king when it comes to weight loss is calories in, calories out. That's all you pretty much have to worry about. If you're expending more calories than you are intaking, then you're going to objectively lose weight. That's just the laws of thermodynamics. So with that being said, it'd be focusing on, again, consistency over time, being in a slight deficit, and maintaining that over time. Because again, you want to do it healthily, make sure your metabolism doesn't completely crash, and also to make sure we're maintaining, again, other healthy functionalities in our body, like our hormones, like our cardiovascular system, and all those different things. So I think the main thing is just focusing on I encourage you guys not just to focus on the weight loss, even though it is important to a lot of people's journeys, but to also celebrate the wins in your performance and in your mental health and all the things that come along with exercise as well.
I think going back to the cutting off your leg analogy also, it's like weight loss is you know, for a lot of people, I think they think of it as this one occasion of like, I'm unhappy right now, and so I want to lose X amount of pounds, but there's no thought past that as far as sustainability and sustained weight loss, and I think that's actually what people are after.
Yeah.
But when they're initially looking for it, they want something that's going to happen right now because they're unhappy right now. They feel like they need to make a change right now, and I think the better question is, how can I sustain that? And not just loss, but how can I sustain a healthy body weight? I think that's really the question that people want to ask, but they're going to get caught up in just the immediacy of it. And like Ricky said, you know, I think people's knee-jerk reaction is everyone kind of knows calorie deficit's important. So what most people will do is they'll just say, I'm just going to cut my calories in half. Like maybe they're currently eating 3,000 calories a day. So they say, okay, I'm just going to eat 1,500 or even 1,200. I've had people that I've worked with that have been eating even less than that, which is crazy. And they do it for a certain amount of time, and then lo and behold, they get to a plateau because their body can't sustain that rapid weight loss anymore. And so they just stop losing weight, and then they feel like, you know, they're a complete failure because they haven't been able to sustain that. Versus doing it in a strategic approach where you're pairing a moderate conservative calorie deficit with a really good training program, with really good recovery, with focusing on relational health and all of the other things that come with it. You're not just thinking about the food that you're eating and, you know, how you can eat less. That's where people see the sustainability side of it, because that's actually treating humans the way that we operate as holistic whole beings, that we need all of those components to be able to maintain something like that, so that it doesn't just become another 6-week shred where at the end of it we're like, okay, now what do I do now? And I agree, like, it makes me kind of sad that all of these questions are like around weight loss and around wanting to like just be smaller. Like, that does kind of bum me out, because I think for us, we're obviously fitness freaks, so we love performance, and we love feeling like we can like see what we're capable of. And I think I would love to see more people get to the point where those are the kind of questions that they're looking up. Is like, how can I, you know, have a better mile time? Or how can how can I increase my barbell back squat? You know, like, those are the kind of questions I would love to see being more searched. But I also understand that that's not where a lot of people are yet. And I think that's part of our job, is helping them get there.
And I also hope that this is like a part of this series, why we kind of wanted to do this, is to kind of deter some of the myths in the fitness industry, and also just kind of change the narrative that's out there. Because I think right now the target for so long, and it's a big part of it because of the fitness industry, it's not the consumer's fault. It's not the people who are wanting to be healthier. Like, all the magazines and all the videos that are out there, it's all about Ozempic. It's all about getting a flatter belly. It's all about losing weights on the scale, right? All those TV ads are about, I lost 30 pounds in 30 days by doing this, right? It's so focused on weight loss as the key to success. But like you said, and I totally agree, is like, if you could take losing 30 pounds in 30 days, but you gain it all back 30 days after that, would you take that versus losing 30 pounds over the course of 2 years, but keep it off for the rest of your life? I feel like most people, if not everyone, would say the second, right? Is because it's not just about losing the weight, but it's sustaining it. And not just there, but then it's like, what's next after that? I've lost all this weight. Man, maybe I should sign up for a 5K. Man, maybe I should, you know, check out a local, you know, boot camp fitness class, or, you know, like, I can go for a hike now with my friends. Like, it opens up possibilities, right? But it starts with this changing of, I guess, just this change of the philosophy, like just changing the paradigm of why we're losing the weight in the first place, right? I think that's like where it starts. So hopefully this can be a place where we can have those conversations and just continue to shape that narrative for the next generation in the fitness industry.
Boom.
Boom shakalaka.
This is the first time we've made a video like this, so
I had a lot of fun, honestly.
I had a lot of fun too. If you had a lot of fun, then let us know and we'll make more videos like this.
Yeah.
But ultimately, our goal is to share some of our knowledge and our experiences, but also to hopefully make people feel like they're seen a little bit and like they're understood, and remind that we're real people in the fitness industry, that there's a lot of toxic stuff out there. There's a lot of things that we don't necessarily enjoy about our industry, but there's also some really amazing people out there that want to help you, and they really care about you. So I hope that whoever's watching this, if you resonate with any of these questions, if these are questions that you've even looked up yourself, I hope you know that you're seen, that you're loved, that wherever you are and whatever you're doing, you have to start first with being comfortable and accepting of who you are, before you can make any changes. And speaking from experience, Ricky and I both have our own fitness journeys and fitness stories. And really the path to growth and the path to change is first with acceptance and then with making those changes and taking those steps. So I hope that we can be supports for that. I hope that we can be people that are positive in this industry. And we look forward to making more videos like this.
Until next time.